Marlene Parker. Welcome to my channel, House of Spirit. And this is the second video on a series of videos that I will be doing that will inform you of the information that I channeled about reincarnation, the soul's evolution through multiple lives, from a level 1 soul to a level 10 soul to a level 10 purified soul. And this was information I channeled through a young girl's spirit guide who passed away and who was a level 10 purified soul who then joined Source again. Hopefully that is clear. If it's best to start the videos in sequence, to start with video 1 because I introduce the concept of how this works and how Source is regenerating its power through us, through like a battery in the third dimension. It's to fortify and keep the life force going. So that's in the earlier video, but right now we're going to talk about level 2 soul. So after a brief review here on the level 1 soul is the brand new soul that's come down. It's the darker aspect of the divine that is seeking more empowerment through fusion of more light through struggle and challenge. Because when you struggle and you challenge, you call in more light source energy for help and assistance. That's when you do, which is why every spiritualist in the world always tells you to, call in on the source energy, because that's going to refortify your soul light energy, upgrade another level in light, which is actually what you're here to do. You're actually here to become more enlightened and more light-filled, to become more fortified so that you can then join Source and refortify the Source energy like a battery recharging. And how do we refortify in light energy? Through challenge. It is through the challenge of our struggles that we then fall to our knees and humble ourselves and ask for assistance from a higher source, which then brings us more light power, because then we become receptive to that. Okay, so level 2 soul is the point in the soul's progression when it is tired of being the victim. It is tired of being that vulnerable soul that cannot materialize, that cannot stay warm, that cannot, and the soul literally, a young soul at that level literally cannot understand why it is that some souls have a car and they don't. They don't understand why this man over here has a coat and he doesn't. So what they do is they then go take the coat. They go take a coat. They go take the car. They go take the sex. They take the child. They take the whatever. And they're very angry and they feel entitled because they're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure they're not the victim, because the soul has taken all it can take as in its vulnerable state. And so the level, it's so funny, this lawn thing is going. So the level 2 soul is literally the soul at its breaking point that will no longer be a victim and then decides to victimize because it doesn't understand any other language. But the level 1 soul, if it's in a world where there's more compassion, it softens the level 2 reaction of the soul. So in other words, the soul will then graduate to a level 2 soul with less violent tendency, with less anger. So the more we help the level 1 souls in their in the ways that they are incapacitated, in the sense that they need to be shown some sort of protection, the level 2 soul will then not be as angry and as violent. So we'll lessen, the more compassion you show the 1 soul, the more we lessen the harm that is created in our psyche and in our energetic field in the third dimension from the level 2 souls. So that's the importance of compassion. That's why in every spiritual person they're going to preach compassion, because it literally lessens the violence. So so the level 2 soul then goes through their lives. They just take what they want. They kill. They don't, they're your younger ones. They have very little light. You can see by people's eyes how much light level they have in their eyes. You can see by a serial killer's eyes there's no light in them. Those are your level 2 souls. They seek power. They have no light inside of them. These are genuinely divinely created souls with lesser light. So the more light that they're shown, the more spiritualism there is in our society, the more real source light they can find. But anyway, the criminal level 2 soul is going to then seek power, light, experience it through dominance over others, through victimizing, through not being the victim this time, through taking, through figuring it out, through they got it. They aren't suffering now. That's what matters, you know, to the level 2 soul. And they're like surviving, and they're winning, and they're the victorious ones. And they've got the car and the, you know, that's the energy. Like, they're not going to get burnt up this time. They're, you know, that's the energy of the 2 soul. So they're entitled, they're criminals, they're the repeat criminals, they tend to, and then what happens then to the soul at this point, what then sort of causes the soul to transition into the 3rd level is the physical, constant physical head. And it's interesting, I've listened to prisoners and convicts or repeat criminals talk about how they couldn't handle any more head trauma, head injury. There's some sort of a thing that happens to the head, that there's a point that the soul can't take any more physical abuse, that and the soul won't do it anymore. The soul won't go, and the soul will do whatever it can to divide from, and that's what causes the soul to not create crime, because it's still a young soul and it seeks external light. It has low light within, so it seeks light from outside. So the level 2 soul in its moment of transition towards a 3 soul has had all it can handle physically. The soul can't take it. So it then goes to a level 3 soul where it starts to want to legitimize its power. It wants to start to feel powerful with a badge. Not all people with badges are young souls, because the universe will inject higher level souls in positions of powers to keep things somewhat balanced. But you get these younger souls that are attracted to police positions, to priest positions, to places where they have power over the vulnerable, because it creates a sense of power. And it does not look like a criminal. It does not create the criminal and energy. So your young 3/2s, and by the way, there are transition periods in these. There's no black and white. This is a gradation scale. But I can tell by somebody's patterns in their life what they're dominating in, what level soul they're dominating in. So the level 2/3 soul is going to start wanting to sort of image-wise be the opposite of a criminal, and be like something legitimate in the community, in the world. This is your politicians, your corrupt elite, your corrupt actors and actresses. They get attention. They want attention. It gives them a sense of power. They still have. Remember, every level you go up, you get more light, less dense. So the level 3 soul is 30% dark, 70% dark, 30% light. Your level 7 soul is 30% dark, 70% light. I'm a 5 level soul, so I'm about 50-50, although I'm actually at the end of my 5 things, so I'm about 5.9 soul, okay? And I do that. I help people really locate your soul, and you can find it by what you really motivates you, what you're really driven to. Your level 5 souls, transition 6 souls, are very much spiritualists. They're very much like me, and I know a lot of other people like me that are very much drawn to exploring the topic of spiritualism and then teaching it so it integrates with the soul, so that I become integrated more predominantly in the light. And so you teach it. Your soul teaches things in order to integrate it. So back to the 2 levels. So at the point that the 2 level cannot handle any more physical violence against itself in its body form, it then wants to walk a more straight line, but still seeks escape of dark experience. Remember, the soul is a lot in the dark, 70% in the dark. Is heavy, it's hard. They seek escape from that darkness through low morale, through addictive, through the physical, through the material, through the escapism, and they suffer darkness, which is why they need this. It's an alleviation of the darkness, to abuse the vulnerable still, to take advantage of people, to overinflate their position so that it disguises the truth. So that's your level 3 level soul. And in fact, in astrology, they call it that we're in the era of Kali. We're coming out of the era of Kali, and I channeled that on the whole. We're a little bit like high level 3s, 4 on the mass consciousness. Our society is good, it's better than the 2s, but we're up to 3, 4s, which we are coming out of the Kali period, which is out of the 3 level era, and we are kind of opening up to some of the corruptions and seeing the truth about some of the people in power are really young souls. A lot of them are, not all, but a lot are. So they seek the image of power on some level. They believe that they have power. They need to have an external idea of power. a source of power for them, like a title, a badge. um, So what happens to the level 3 soul, which then transitions them to the 4? Well, because they are not very, they're really 70% in the dark, and they have low morals, and they do borderline still be, you know, the cop and the policeman, I'm sorry, the police and the criminal, there's a fine line. So at a 3-point level, they fall from grace. So their image comes crashing down. They lose their position in society. Everything they held as being an escape doesn't, they still then return to the level of dark that they were in. Like their level of darkness did not, like they discover that it didn't really alleviate the dark, and then they then have to sort of humble to a light in order to sort of progress beyond that level of darkness, because they're just churning up more very challenging experiences on the 3D for themselves. So they get pushed. The soul just is like, I can't take this anymore, you know. I can't keep getting into criminals type experiences, and you know, so the soul then starts to become, but they then start to see the musician and the performer and the talented as these people that legitimately deserve the light and the accolades and the finances. So and plus the soul feels soothed. It finds it suddenly discovers the soothing of the darkness of the soul, which, by the way, the level 3 level soul hides their darkness. They're ashamed of their darkness. They act like they're a level in the light like everybody else. But when the soul is in 70% in the dark, they seek light desperately, and but they find a soothing power in the arts and in music and in entertainment, and plus it comes with a lot of the glamour and the image of the sort of glitter glam that attracts the level 3 soul. It feels very secure. It feels very like they didn't have to be a criminal for it, you know. But then the musician gets the glam and the accolades and the title and the beauty and all this. But they also move people, and there's heart in it. And it's sort of the 4th level is awakening to the heart through divine, through music. They can feel God through music or through the arts, and it softens their heart space. They become connected to an emotional connection to their darkness, and they stop having shame about their darkness, and they start creating beauty with their darkness. They start making it beautiful, and that's the really good musicians, the powerful poets that actually move you, because what they're actually doing is they're healing their shame and about their darkness, and they're making it beautiful so they can heal, and so they're purging their dark pain through their music, through their darkness, in their dark work. It's your dark musicians, your dark poets, your Jim Morrisons, and they really don't live here necessarily long, because they're here to clear some dark, deep darkness, you know, in order to transition to the 5. But your 4 level souls that are really in a lot of pain and darkness it's alleviated through it starts to become purified out of them through their music, and it also is so attractive to everybody else and is very successful. And this is the music and the artwork and the poetry and the acting and all that draws everybody in, because it is genuinely healing the artisan's pain, which also vicariously also heals everybody who then experiences their pain in relation to that, because we all sort of share a general psyche, which I'll talk about it another time. But anyway, so the clearing of the pain through the level 4 soul happens. They become almost purified, like puristically. They don't want money. They really aren't necessarily money driven. They are more driven by the need to be escaping their dark pain, and they feel it every time they do it. It's such a relief. It's such a, you know, it's such an experience of euphoric escape in a way that really, really moves their soul. And like, you know, it's the first time the soul experiences an inner harmonic experience, you know. And then but the problem is for the level 4 souls, when they're not performing, when they come down off this platform, when they come, and not all performers, the comedians can be very, very high levels. You get a lot of prophets that are very, very high levels, and a lot of prophets are young souls. They're not. These musicians are prophets because through their work they heal. In a way, everybody's kind of a prophet, really. But the poet and the musician is sort of a channeler, and because they're in their heart space, they're feeling, they're moved, and they're healed through using the divine energies through their work. It's a healing dynamic for the soul. So then when the soul then But the problem is that once they're not doing their art form, or they're not on stage and they don't have an audience and it's not an engaged experience for them, and they're not living in the present, they then return to the sort of 60% darkness that they hold in their soul. And that still troubles them at the end of the day. They have to feel it. It's like a drop. It's like a bam. And they're like, after the show or after in the backstage by themselves, there's this bam, back to their dark experience, their truth. So they then really struggle at the high level of force to find, okay, well then now what? Where can my soul escape this feeling of pain? And they seek spiritualism much more, that's why you get some of these, like Cat Stevens became spiritual and Madonna becomes more spiritual at the end of their lives. These are the people who've really taken their talent to the pinnacle, and they've seen that all the way, when you take it all the way to the very end, it still does not eliminate that darkness. It's like you have to keep pedaling that bike to keep that light, and they can't. And they drop to the level that they are, and so then they start seeking more other higher forms, and then they start turning to spiritualism, which is the soul now really reaching for the right light, as far as it really starting to shift to more predominantly in the light, and that will be the level 5 soul, which I will do next time. All right, thank you for watching. Namaste.